always wear a hat to keep the heat in.
You.
All right.
So should I just kick it off or are we waiting?
Well, I was going to introduce you, and
Okay.
yes, so thank you for joining us today for this presentation by Ned Shoaei, who is pursuing her Master of Fine Arts in Game Development and Interactive Design at the Savannah College of Art and Design, specializing in medtech and the future of healthcare design. Her thesis explores gamified, closed-looped brain-computer interface systems that help people with multiple sclerosis self-regulate fatigue. And we're going to hear from her about that today. I'd also like to say that Ned is very proactive at making things happen and getting things done. And she founded the Savannah College of Art and Design student chapter for XR Women. And it's been really great to get to know her over the past couple of years and to work with her. And I'm really excited to hear more about her research. So, Ned.
And Karen, thank you again for introducing me. And yes, so as part of my thesis project in Savannah College of Art and Design, um, as I was exploring to work on a therapeutic game, but I still didn't have an idea and I was not sure what I want to do until I came across like research that were studying and measuring the brain activity of people with MS. And that was when I got very curious in how neuroadaptive gamified systems basically work. And when I was thinking about that, I came to this idea of what if I start using neuroadaptive gamified system for self-regulating MS-related fatigue. So that's basically how I got started on this project. And during the past years, the past months, I have been actually playing around with a lot of these CAPs, which are brain computer interfaces. And I am not sure if you have the experience of wearing a BCI before. Has anyone had this experience?
No, I haven't, but I'm fascinated with the concept.
That's cool.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I've seen pictures of them, but I've never experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So the one that is like the high density EEG in the middle, that is the one that was actually this year at AWE, and I tried it. It was not attached to the program. The software was working separately from the headset, but just having it on my head was a very cool feeling. So I took a picture of that one. And the one that is on the left, which is the Emotive Epoch X, is a 14 channel consumer grade, which is like something that you can easily use at home. It's kind of a consumer grade ready, home use ready headset. And I am using it for the final phases of my thesis. And the one that is on the very left is basically from a neuroscience kit where I started off my thesis experimentation with. It's a single channel BCI, and it's very good for experimentations and PhD and thesis projects. So just giving an idea about BCIs. So they basically listen to your brain's electrical activity and translate those invisible signals into something we can see or play with and even use to communicate. And so, like playing around and experimenting with a variety of these has got me even more curious about how these translations could turn into something meaningful that will help us with regulating our thoughts and our brain activity. So, moving on to a little bit deeper about how I got attracted to doing this project. I have a personal story to share. While systems that care for stories that matter is basically the premise of my project. And for me, this is a personal story that when I was a teenager, I had my first major MS attack, and that left me paralyzed for a couple of months, and the damage was very severe. And after going through like months of physical therapy, um and the movement started coming back again. And through those days that I was very focused on physical therapy and learning about how you can lose a movement and how you can bring it back, I just learned this the magic of the brain. I just got very close to the magic of the brain and what it really feels like to try to shoot down signals to an organ that is really not responding. And like, I think this stuck with me. So like in all of my artistic journey and design journey since then, I have been looking into ways to translate my thoughts about my experience, so I can like connect with the world outside. And I'm very happy that I came across this project and my thesis to work on it, even on a way that I can not just talk about my experience, but also help people with something that could help, help a community. So moving forward to just explaining a little bit about multiple sclerosis. So this is a neurological disease where the immune system attacks the protective coating around nerve fibers, uh, which disrupts the communication between your brain and your body. And if I want to give an example, like a video game where your controller is glitching and like you're pressing jump, but the signal lags and it never arrives. So, like MS is most commonly diagnosed in young adults between 20 to 40, and it affects women at twice the rate of men. 2.8 million people worldwide are living with this disease, and a critical point is that many people live with this invisible symptom of fatigue. It's a weakness or a cognitive fog that they live for years with these symptoms before even getting diagnosed. So, you might wonder why I have chosen to focus on fatigue. Well, when I started like conducting interviews with subject matter experts, and through a conversation that I had with my own neurologist at St. Joseph Candler Hospital, he started off a conversation about fatigue and how fatigue is one of the most common and disabling symptoms of MS, and one of the hardest to measure or even explain to others. So, this conversation really made me curious to dig deeper, and I realized that there are reports showing that 75 to 90% of people with MS experience chronic fatigue. And not just, it doesn't just mean that you're tired, it's like a neurological fatigue that interferes with thinking, working, and basically your daily life activities. And this actually turned into the gap for my research. So, that led me to this question, that what if we could like gamify healing, and what if a game driven by your own brain waves could teach your brain to manage the patterns associated with fatigue. So in Sari Gilbert's book, she is the associate chair of our faculty, the interactive design and game development faculty. In her book, Designing Gamified Systems, she basically frames this very perfectly. That in gamified systems, system design, we link a game system to a non-game system. So we are using a newly designed dynamic and engaging system to basically change a pre-existing complex and real and necessary system. So for me, that pre-existing system is multiple sclerosis. So, to validate the direction that I was taking, I conducted a survey with the support of the National MS Society. And in that survey, I had 146 people with MS participating. And I used the modified fatigue impact scale, which is a validated clinical survey to measure fatigue. And it basically focuses on fatigue across uh, across three dimensions: physical, cognitive, and psychological domains. And the findings showed me that 89% said that their current fatigue management tools aren't very effective. 97% said that they would be willing to try a therapeutic game, and they wanted short sessions, calming visuals, and something easy to use. And 74% already play video games, and 62% have tried brain or health apps. So, like, these evidence and everything that I found studied across the survey basically became the design blueprint for what I am building. So, here's how the game works on a high level. You put on a consumer EEG headset at home. Uh, it could be the emotive Epoch X, or it could even be a custom designed 3D printed EEG using like pieces from OpenBCI. It really depends on the design path that you are taking. But the idea is to have a headset that you can use in home, not necessarily in a clinical setting. So you play, for example, imagine guiding a glowing orb through a cosmic environment using only your brain activity. And as you play, your brain learns. And through repeated sessions, neuroplasticity kicks in and starts doing the work. So your brain starts to recognize and regulate the patterns associated with fatigue, and you track your progress across a 21-day orbital journey, unlocking new worlds as you go. And each session is about 5 minutes. And this is basically intentional. Again, 80% of the survey uh, revealed that people prefer to have sessions between 2 to 10 minutes. And what does it actually feel to play the game? So while you're guiding a glowing orb through that space, your brain is focused or calm. The world starts like coming alive. Stars will start like brightening up, and the environment fills in, and your orb glows and moves with confidence. And when the system detects fatigue building, it doesn't punish you. So the environment starts like softening, and the challenges eases, and you're given space to recover. So this rise and fall rhythm mirrors basically how stamina actually works in real life. And I am calling this the compassionate mode. And this is an innovative system that I am designing for this game, where a fatigued moment isn't a failure. It's the system caring about where you are right now. So, just a sneak peek about the thought process behind, the design system. Before I get into like some initial prototypes that I did for the application, I want to show you what goes into like the design work and what is behind it. So this is basically the architecture of the user flow. Like you can see every screen that the user goes on, like every component is mapped out, and like we have the entry screens, we have like orbit maps with like 7 planetary worlds. The in session experience have like broken visual layers that do each one mean, just remember that everything within the system is reactive in real time to your brain activity. So it's really important to just have like intentional design. So the systems that you are using and you're feeding into the game, and the brain wave, which is like the streaming assets of this game, are all having a meaning and coming together to just uh, create that closed loop system, which is going to be therapeutic and helping the person to find their sweet spot. So, giving a quick glimpse of what's happening like in the technical pipeline. Well, without getting so deep with jargons and technical like system design phrases. So the system is built as a pipeline. EEG data, which are like the brain waves, the sensors are basically called the EEGs. The EEG data comes in from the headset, and we have classifiers that analyzes your brain state in real time. It happens 4 times per second across 5 distinct states. And that classification then fans out to every game system simultaneously: how the orb moves, how the environment looks, how difficulty adjusts. And that's basically the compassionate system that I spoke about earlier. And the piece I'm most proud of is like this basically adaptation engine. It evaluates your neural performance in real time and adjusts the challenge to keep you in a therapeutic sweet spot. So, for example, if you're having a great day, the challenge would rise. And if you're struggling, and with MS, some days you are just struggling, the system meets you where you are at. So, interconnected systems working together to create something that feels simple to the player, but is quite complex underneath. And about like validating the functionality of the system, I should say that before going anywhere near a real patient, I started to verify the system actually working, uh, where I created like 3 synthetic EEG profiles that simulate different fatigue severities, the kind of patients that you will actually encounter in clinical trials. And the results showed exactly what I was hoping, that 3 distinct therapeutic response patterns are created. And for the low fatigue profile, steady challenge escalation, high engagement; for moderate fatigue, an oscillating pattern where difficulty rises and falls with the patient's state. And for high fatigue, the system activates its protective mode, which is that compassionate system, prioritizing the patient's well being over performance. And that differentiation is the core preclinical claim that I have, that the system doesn't treat everyone the same, and it responds to who you are at the moment. So let me just show you what I've been building. These are, like a quick note that what you are seeing here is basically the UX prototype that demonstrates the user flow and the system concepts. My focus has been on the architecture and system design. So think of these as visuals that are like interactive blueprints, not the final game itself. But like you can see, like I have like different screens of different um, levels of the game. If I move forward, I just have a very short fast forward video for you to show you. Is it playing?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
S- So like you will start at the entry screen and where you will be welcomed each day. Then it moves to the session. You will watch the energy fields response to brain state. The motivational messages adapt to where you are at neurologically, and like yeah. So and these are like the results that you can see, and these are like the different journeys that you can take in different planets. So, the next steps that I'm taking, well, I will be defending my thesis hopefully next quarter. And, like as I am continuing building this journey, I am looking into taking this to next steps, which would be like clinical trials and working with clinics and doctors and actually testing out the system with real MS patients to make sure that I am building something which is meaningful and is really useful for, for my community and for my society. So just looping back to where I started from, systems that care for stories that matter. I would say that my story is MS, but every one of us carries something that is like either visible or invisible. Like it could be a fatigue or barrier. But I believe I'm an optimistic person, and I love to use new technologies to just show the world that what does it mean to have values and have that optimistic vision to lift up and help our society and communities in meaningful ways. And I really appreciate you all listening to my pitch. And if anyone has any questions, just yeah, feel free. I'm happy to have a conversation.
Wow, Ned, that is really outstanding work. The whole project and your deck, everything's very, very impressive. And I do have a lot of questions. I don't know if other people do too, but
Sure. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate it.
okay. And really you mentioned the classification system as being, I think that's what it was called. Can you go back to that slide, or you said that was like what you were most proud of, and
Oh, yeah, that's the compassionate system. So in game design, something that is really, um, I would say important when it comes to, let me just see, yeah, here, is important in game design and therapeutic game designing is, and it's basically a system that is used in, you know, a lot of game systems will see that is dynamic difficulty adjustment. So that's called the
okay.
DDA. So
Hmm.
DDA is basically a system that the system designers focus on to balance out the performance of the player according to the environment. So it'll adapt accordingly. In many games, this DDA is adjusted just by, like a manual. For example, you manually choose if you want to have like an easy mode. Like you will just choose the difficulty mode yourself manually. That's the easiest way to do it.
Hmm.
But with my system, and with the studies that I have been doing so far in the industry, and also like in a lot of PhD study academics, both academic and industry, I would say. Um, Finding the creating like a compassionate system for real time data is not that easy, especially if you are doing that for therapeutic purposes. So
Uh-huh.
this would be something that is the challenging part of my system.
Hmm. Yeah. And so I was very curious, how that would work. And I'm also curious. It's very clear from what you have just said, but that you're bringing your game design background to bear on this, and that's an important part of it. But it seems like there is more informing it in terms of your understanding of conducting research with the human subjects, and how to do a study. And I'm curious about how you learned those skills.
Are you referring at the preclinical phase design?
Um, Well, I mean, you talked about this where you did work with human subjects there, and just your approach
Oh,
to
so yeah,
performing.
like this is I think you're referring to the low fatigue, moderate fatigue, and high fatigue. So just giving a background of how I got started. So for the first phase where I was just building the closed loop closed feedback loop, uh, I basically started testing out in university with my peers just to make sure that my system is responsive to brainwave and it's responsive in the most accurate way. Where I was using those single channel EEGs, the ones that I showed in the first slide. Let me just go back to it. So yeah, like this one,
Mhm.
the frontal electrodes. So I was using this with my peers just to check if my system is responsive to actual real human brainwave data, making sure that the foundation of my system is being set correctly and it's responsive in the most accurate way as possible. Because we always know that with, uh, with, for example, brain computer interfaces, there are a lot of artifacts. There are a lot of like, we call those artifacts like noise, like, there's a lot to consider
Mhm, mhm.
to make sure that how we can like read those raw data and translate them into the pure thing that will be what we want, basically deducting all of those artifacts from the actual final results that we are looking at. After that, since so this was also again a hurdle that I went through because, well, I'm in an art and design school, you all know that,
Right.
and we don't have access to IRB.
Right.
uh, and that's like the institutional review board, and we do not have access to that because we're not a medical school. And I would say that my work has been pushing my faculty to embrace more healthcare gamified
Hmm.
systems. And right now, I'm proud that I would be the first person, but I'm proud that a lot of other people have started on this track, and we are seeing more thesis in this area in our school, which is very interesting for myself. We had like therapeutic interventions, but not like using new technologies, mostly as just gaming, cozy gaming environments on flat screens or mobile screens. But like this is basically using sensors and real time human data, addressing like chronic pain. So, going back to your question, since I did not have access to IRB, I started digging deeper into what is actually the steps that designers take for basically designing for a clinical trial. Do they just design and right away go into the clinical trial and start collecting data? So with this question, I came across this understanding that actually the um, the more accurate and professional way that people are approaching this, experts are approaching this, is the preclinical validation phase, which will be using like tools like MATLAB. And you have to go through signal processing and creating synthetic EEG data and creating like user profiles, like personas and user profiles, and running tests like batch simulations that will actually show how your system is working. So you have like that understanding of a pre-testing and pre-validation of the system before you take this pre-validated system into a clinic, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So basically, this is what I have been doing, testing with synthetic EEG. But for my final like thesis publication, I do need to have some user testing, but that will be very casual with some friends that I know here, not inside a clinical trial, but just and again, not like validating the system itself or the effectiveness, but rather gathering some survey data on how they generally feel about the game and the experience. Because honestly, I know that Christine is also working like with Mayo Clinics. Like, these kind of projects this was something that my thesis committee actually encouraged me not to look into clinical trials during my MFA. And if that's something that I want to approach, I keep it after I am done with my defense, because that could really turn into like a 6-year PhD, honestly.
Yes, it sure could. Absolutely. And you're graduating in May, is that right?
I am actually defending my thesis in May, but I will still have 2 classes left, which are like not related to my thesis. But I will be technically, yeah, I will be graduating in May.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Paige, thank you for your comment. I just read your comment. I really appreciate it.
We're so happy for your dedication and passion for data-driven solutions through gaming and immersive technologies. And what's so exciting to me is capturing neural data in live time. So as you said, that when you're working within a healthcare system, one day you may feel good and another day you may feel not so good. And sometimes that can change multiple times during the day. So being able to track where you are in live time, I think will create greater effects and positive impacts for more people. And that really has a giant ripple effect, not just on the immediate person, but all the people who care about them and or work with them or engage. And so if all of us have the opportunity to be seen for who we are in that lifetime moment, the implications are really broad, whether it is this mechanism focused solely in the MS community or beyond, even within soft architectures or textiles. There can be a lot of implication for utilizing that data using neural and bio interfaces. So great work, and I hope that you have a lot of support around this initiative, and that we are gathered in the future to hear about your next steps in a future PhD program.
Thank you so much. That's really kind of you. Um, yeah, like my school and faculty have been trying so hard to support me because this was a topic that was quite new and they didn't have much resources for that. So, but like my faculty have done a great job and really supporting me and even encouraging other students to look into areas of medtech innovation because also there's a big rise of demand in the market as well. So like one thing about being a game designer is that like for my class right now, I am building like um, a kind of like first person shooting game, like those are the stuff that we do for our class projects. But I feel like the more creatives like turn into areas like healthcare, the more ideas they could not. I'm not talking about myself, but about other creatives. They could like bring their creativity into that area and create an impact that is not there yet because I have been studying a lot of the clinical trial neurofeedback and biofeedback systems that are being used, the most modern ones. And I see a huge gap in that engagement and accessibility. So I really hope that we see more accessibility and engagement in these, use cases.
Indeed, indeed. Um,
Ned, I also feel
right.
very encouraged by you looking at multiple types of feedback, and even here's a Paige had put in her note about even looking beyond MS community. My mother had polio, so I've seen the impact of that on her whole life. And when she was told, she only gets dealt so many cards a day, and once she has played all of them, she just has to go rest the rest of the day. So I'll be excited about how you could apply this to other similar conditions. I have friends in the lupus community as well, and so I'm curious about when you read the biofeedback. How different are the signatures related to fatigue relative to different types of neurological conditions?
Sure, that's a great question. So, a lot of my initial studies and research and interviews went into actually understanding about what are the patterns, the brainwave patterns that are associated with fatigue and fatigue in general, like across all of the chronic conditions that exist, including like because like we all know that living with chronic pain, no matter what, will leave us with fatigue because there's a lot of like inactivity, a lot of disability, a lot of like depression, a lot of like medication, pharmaceutical medication, and I would say generally like imbalance that happens that it really causes you fatigue. And as I mentioned, fatigue is like three dimensional, especially when it comes to like studying it closely. Like I just figured all of these out that it's not just like physical, but it's also cognitive and it's also psychological.
Yeah, I
um
didn't know that. That was new to me. I mean, I can feel it, but I didn't know that that was officially the case. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I use the modified fatigue impact scale, which is particularly designed for MS. But studies show that fatigue is basically a common uh, symptom that a lot of chronic illnesses carry with themselves. So and my initial studies was basically s- understanding what are the current findings about the association between brainwave patterns and this fatigue symptom. So there has been like a great literature that I have studied and went through, and I have been interviewing one of my great friends who's also running a clinical trial. She's based in Australia, and they are studying like spinal cord injuries and trying to uh, use neurofeedback for reducing the neuropathic pain in spinal cord injuries. So through all of these studies, I managed to find out those associations between the patterns and fatigue. And I have marked those as the thresholds of my system. So those are basically the thresholds that I'm using. But the thing is that when you take your study further and you start like, for example, running clinical trials, those are the moments where you can find further associations. You could discover things that have not been known yet. So yeah, this is also something that I really hope I can help in this area of um, understanding more about these patterns and associating them with the different symptoms that exist with fatigue. Julie, yeah, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I could actually do that. I was like, I have something to add and share with you because, first of all, I think everything was great, amazing, awesome, everything that you were presenting. It's so well thought through. Presentations were really good. The explanation, just taking your time. Just thank you for such a great presentation, and I learned a lot as well. Thank you. The second part is that a couple months ago, I was part of a conversation in my community from the Brain Juice group, and we started talking about neurochemical prompting and how designing AI that thinks the way that humans understand. And we actually wrote an article around this, and we were talking about how unlocking human potential through AI design and then turning that into spatial storytelling. So I led this paper, and it basically draws on the 5 neurochemical lenses for prompting, which then are how a human engages with what they're doing, right? So dopamine, for example, leads to momentum and motivation. And then neuropinephrine, I always have trouble with these names, is around focused, detailed oriented thinking. And then there's serotonin, which builds stability and confidence. And oxytocin leads to empathy and connection. And then endorphins is the 5th one, which leads to creativity and play. And these things we wrote in this paper talking about storytelling and how the human connects with the story in the building. So I think that these 5 lenses of understanding more about the dopamine and norepinephrine, tying that to your study, I think that would be super interesting for you to take a look and be inspired with all of these things. So I have a draft copy that's ready to go, and I've just invited you to my Substack. It's along with the Brain Juice AI group, and see if you can take some of that information to embellish your work and connect your work to the next level. I invite you to do that. So anyways, pass it over to you. Congratulations. I
That's
think it's awesome.
really amazing. Thank you like for sharing that with me. I'm very curious and interested to learn
Yeah,
more.
there's
I
a
will be
whole
in touch with
article.
you.
Yeah, for sure. And let's release it. Like, it's ready to go, but I would love to have your input into it. And Brad's going to put his final touch, and then having something from the community that's student generated at a time when everybody's a little confused on how to deal with AI is really important that we understand the lenses when we're dealing with the brain, which is in 3D. And we need to be using spatial technologies to connect with the brain because the brain's in 3D and it connects to all these systems. And we can learn how to improve, the high fatigue and build up ways to make the person feel better about doing all of this stuff. So, anyways, congratulations. I'll
Thank
shut up
you.
now.
No. I mean, I love that. I'm here to talk with you all because I love to get expert feedback on my work and like understanding how I can improve or what are the next things that I really have to focus and look in. Like, one thing that you by listening to what you actually told me about is so I am thinking of having people experiencing this in home because first of all, I feel like clinical settings are so scary. Like they are scary for me, honestly. Like because I don't know, as a teenager that I had to go in a lot, it gives me like that sort of like PTSD. So it's really not even if it's like the well designed environment that I have participated in designing it to make it friendly, I will still have a little bit of PTSD, I would say. So like one of the things that I really want to have is like making sure that the person could choose freely that if they want to be in a clinical setting but they are totally fine to do it at home. And I feel because that environmental feeling and how you are in what setting you're experiencing this is really important. So and I am curious to see how does the different like the five lenses change within the body when you're in the most comfortable environment that you love to sit and like do a therapeutic exercise.
Oh, you're muted, Julie, if you were responding.
No, I was just going to say, so coming back to, your final deliverable and are you happy with it? Like, would you change anything? Would you, um, what's the biggest lesson and biggest thing that you could have changed in your study so far?
Um, so I would say I'm pretty happy with what I have so far. Honestly, like, and a lot of things are happening in Unity in the engine. I didn't show much of, like go through that tough Unity unveiling because that is like something that is like boring to watch. But I would say like the whole process taught me a lot, especially that like I had to like constantly connect what I am building to you know the like designing for humans, especially when it comes to these sensitive topics, is really the hardest. This is what I realized. Sometimes I just tell myself when I see other students' projects, like not that they are they are so cool, but I feel like I had to go through a lot of hoops to just get here, and sometimes I just feel like maybe it would have been better to choose like a cozier topic, I would say. But at the end of the day, I would say I am happy. But what I have done differently, honestly, when I was looking into brain computer interfaces, I didn't have much experience of what to work with or what to choose to work with. So I chose the Emotive Epoch X for the final deliverable, just because I studied some papers on, that were using the emotive. But purchasing that and going through the whole, like, it took like 4 months for them to ship the BCI, which I lost an entire quarter on that, and that was not stated on their website, so they were literally out of stock when I ordered online. And so it took like 4 months to get to me, and the calibration is very like tough. It doesn't happen easily, and I managed to find another student in another university that is using like the same BCI, the emotive, and we had like a couple of Zoom sessions. So, and they were also telling me that it's a tedious work to calibrate this. And then like I started studying into other BCIs, and I realized that there would have been better options for me that were more like accessible and easier to calibrate. So yeah, probably I would just I would have bought or like started experimenting with more accessible BCIs compared to the emotive.
Yeah, understood. I guess, there's not a lot of people that are working on this yet. It's so new, right? Like even, a couple of companies is just, but it's probably going to become more dominant in the hardware space, I would think. But let's figure out the chemicals behind it. And like I'm reading more on neurochemical prompt engineering, and it introduces a new dimension, and it speaks the same cognitive language as AI and humans together. And apparently this formula is something that we have, we can now control more because we know we're working with AI. So it's kind of so crazy. Never thought I'd be saying that stuff. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's almost top of the hour. I wish you good luck in the next stages, and I have invited you to that Substack article so you can take a look at it, and add something else in there, comment in it, identify that it's yours, whatever. I included you in it, so we'll look to publish that very soon because I was ready to publish it the other day. So, okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you to everybody for coming out, and the XR Women team for putting this on, and everybody who joined in. It's been a lot of fun sitting warm around a campfire. I'm going to jump out in a couple of minutes, but thanks again, Ned. Thanks,
Thank
team.
you so much, Julie. Thank you.